Hello, my dear students. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. You must be wondering why now I am welcoming you all when you have become a part of Kerala school already. Since it is my first interaction with you all, so I must welcome you all and introduce myself. I am Rinju Chandil, a BST teacher. I am teaching business studies in 11C3 and I am their class teacher too. From now, I am going to be your new captain of your business studies ship. You will be receiving my lecture video for next coming days. Hope and I wish that you will not face any problem in understanding the concepts that I will be explaining to you all. So let's start. I will start with the chapter 3, that is private and public enterprises. Clear? We will discuss the things that are there or that we have to study in chapter 3. It means we have to study in detail about the public enterprises, private enterprises that we have already studied. One question must be arising in your mind that the name of the chapter is private, public and global enterprises, but why I have taken or why I have written private and public enterprises. We all know that due to this pandemic, CBSE has deleted few parts of the chapter. So we will be studying only about private and public enterprises. Rest global enterprises has been deleted from the syllabus. Introduction. We all know that the business organization are an important part of our society. We cannot survive without the business organization. And if you remember in chapter 1, we have studied the detailed classification of business. So industries are also a type of the business. We cannot survive. Just now I have said there are different types of businesses or the industries that you find in the society which differ from each other on many parameters, like some industries or some enterprises are owned by some private people and some are by the public or by the government one, and some are being operated globally. So we find every types of business organization and enterprises in our society or across us. So we can say that India is a mixed economy because it is comprised of both privately owned and government owned enterprises. And that is very much important because when we have these types of enterprises, it always boosts the economy of the country. Now let's see what is the basic difference here. What are the basic differences between public sector and private sector? That we will see. Now you can see in the slide the differences between public sector and private sector enterprises. The left side bases are given. The first one is ownership. Public sector enterprises are owned by state or central or by both the government, whereas private sector enterprises are owned by some private individuals. Objectives. Main objective of setting up public sector is for the public welfare. On the other hand, private sectors are set up to earn maximum profits. The capital contribution in the public sector enterprises are entirely or mostly by government or from public funds, that is the tax that we pay or the penalties, etc. Whereas in private sector, it is by the owners or by the private investors when they purchase shares or debentures or when they take loans from, when enterprises takes loans from various banks and financial institutions. Now coming to the accountability, means to whom they are answerable for their performance. No doubt public sector is answerable towards the public, but through the parliament. They don't directly answer or say anything to the public. Why? Because public money has been used in these enterprises. So now it is very clear to you that private sector enterprises are accountable towards their owners or the investors. And finally, coming to the management, public sector are managed by the bureaucrats, that we can say those IS officers and all, whereas private sector enterprises are managed by professionals or the professional managers. Clear? So now I think the differences are clear. And one more thing that you have already studied, the forms of the private sector enterprises. These are sole proprietorship, joint Hindu family business, cooperative society, partnership, and joint stock company. No need to describe any one of these because already you have studied these forms in details in chapter 2. Now coming to the public sector. As we have discussed earlier, enterprises are owned and managed by the government. Means enterprises which comprises of public sector are owned and managed by the government. They may either be partly or wholly owned by the central or the state government. Clear? Or they may come into the existence by the special act of parliament. So these are the various, that you can say, features of public sector. Clear? Few more are there. They are formed to participate in economic activities of the country. Means they are there to enhance the economic condition of the country along with the social welfare of the citizens of that country. And already just now you have seen they are owned by the public, so they are accountable to them through the parliament. Hope these things are getting clear to you. Now, the various forms of public sector undertaking or public sector enterprises: departmental undertakings, statutory corporations, and government company. We will study all these three forms of public sector undertakings in detail. And in this lecture video, I will be explaining only the departmental undertakings. So we will be studying about the department undertakings, what are its features, merits, and limitations. That will make you clear about what are departmental undertakings. As you can see, it is the oldest and most traditional form. These undertakings enterprises are established as departments of ministry and are extension of the ministry itself. Departments of ministry means railways are the extension of, or railways are directly under the railway ministry, and they are not autonomous or independent institutions, so they have no separate legal entities, just like joint stock companies and all. Employees who works with those organizations are considered as government employees, and they are directly under the control of state or central government. Coming to the features. Now, when we have explained about the public sector and about the departmental undertakings, now it is very easy for you to find out what are the features. Directly funding from the government treasury, revenue earned is also paid into treasury. The first one means the funding of such enterprises are done from government treasury directly, and whatever earning is being there, it is directly going to the government treasury only, subjected to same accounting and audit controls as government, because they are directly under the control of the government, so they are subjected to the same accounting and audit methods and procedures. As you know that they are managed, means public sector enterprises are managed by the bureaucrats, so they are headed by the government servants, or we can say that IS officers. All these enterprises are considered to be a major subdivision of the concerned ministry and are under the direct control of that ministry. And no doubt, again, they are accountable to the ministry because they are directly getting fund from that ministry. After the features, let's move on to the merits of the departmental undertakings. You can see 4 are there. The first one is facilitates the parliament to exercise effective control over their operations. So somebody is out there to look into their performance, whether they are performing up to the mark or not. The second one, ensure a high degree of public accountability because they are directly answerable to the ministry and they are directly a part of the ministry. So you can say that they are highly accountable towards the public. One example I can give, if there is any mishap in railways, means if there any accident and all, there is an immediate demand of the resignation of railway minister. It means that if something happens with the railways, Indian railways, people, they held railway minister accountable to all the happenings and mishappenings. These enterprises are considered to be a source of income for the government. So it's a benefit for the government also, because whatever revenues are being earned, it goes directly to the treasury of the government. And the last one, it is the most suitable for the national security concern as they are under the direct control and supervision of the concerned ministry. Can you give one example of departmental undertaking which are a part of the ministry, means Ministry of Defense, and it is concerned to the national security? Think by the time we will discuss the limitations. Limitations number 1, fail to provide flexibility, an essential item for smooth operations, as they are working under the ministry directly. So it is very hard for them to be flexible. Means flexibility is missing from their mode of operations. And the next one, heads are not allowed to take independent decisions, leads to the delays, whereas prompt decisions are required. Nowadays business environment is changing very fast, so they have to be very prompt in taking any decisions related to the changing environment or related to the functioning of the organization. Again, this thing they lack because of, again, we can say that bureaucracy. Hope you remember that departmental undertakings are the oldest and most traditional form of the business enterprises. So due to this, the bureaucrats or their working approach is very conservative in nature. Now we can say that the bureaucrats, because they head the enterprises, their overcautious and conservative approach does not allow them to take risky ventures. So they are unable to take the advantages of business opportunities that are knocking at their door. The next one is red tapeism hampers the pace of the work. Red tapeism means before giving a final nod to any decision, generally all the paperwork, all the documents, they go through the proper channel of authority, the proper channel of communication, and it makes the whole work process very slow. A lot of political interference, no doubt. These politicians, they will interfere in the working condition or all the decisions of that enterprises, because they are under the direct control of their ministries. And finally, usually insensitive to the consumer needs. That's why all these, especially again, one example I am giving, the Indian Railways, why they are losing their edge, or you can say that Air India, why they are losing to the private airlines. Indian Railways, they have no competitors, so anyhow they are managing, but it is under huge loss because they never pay attention to the consumer needs, and it is the demand of the day to treat your consumer as the king, because the moral of the whole market is the consumer is king. We have to look into their needs to earn maximum profit, but even with so many limitations, we cannot survive without the participation of departmental undertakings in our society or in our Indian economy. Here you can see the various examples of the departmental undertaking, that is Bharatiya Dak, Indian Post, Doordarshan, All India Radio, Indian Railways. You are requested to search more examples of departmental undertakings from internet. In this video, we have discussed about the private and public enterprises, what are the basic differences between them, what are the various forms of public sector undertakings, and out of that 3 forms we have discussed departmental undertakings in details. So I hope that this video has made the things clear to you, and while studying, while going through the video, always keep your book along with you, underlines the important points, make the notes, and do the question answers given to you as an attachments. In my next lecture video, I will be discussing about the next form of public sector undertaking, that is statutory corporations. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and bye.